When you hear the phrase soft as steel, what do you think of? While the word steel might conjure up images such as massive high rise buildings, where does the soft part come in? And what exactly does this mean in our work and in our lives? Welcome to the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Duran, featuring engaging conversations with a wide range of industry leaders around soft skills, how we practice love, inclusion, social justice, and compassionate leadership that's everlasting in the workplace. And now, here's Dennis Duran.
Today's guest on the Soft as Steel podcast is Stephen Phillip, the president of Coatings Unlimited, a 70-year-old family-owned company serving industrial, commercial, and retail markets with flooring, wall, and tank coating and lining systems, both heavy-duty and decorative. Coatings Unlimited is a diverse company that can prep and apply many different types of coatings on many different types of surfaces, both in our shop and in the field. That first part of the introduction gives you a pretty good sense of one of the things that I find so interesting about our guest, and I'll explain that in a moment. Steve is a bit different from many leaders running successful businesses. He is constantly reflecting on his experiences, new and old, and sharing these reflections on social media, specifically LinkedIn. I enthusiastically recommend that anyone interested in insights that are discussed in plain, very understandable ways follow Steve to hear what he's reflecting on. His most recent posting reflected on this thought: I don't walk on water. I just know where the rocks are. Much of what he talks about revolves around people, and most importantly, his people, the folks that work for him. Steve, welcome to the Soft as Steel podcast.
Thank you for having me, Dennis.
You're very welcome.
I'm honored.
You did a little bit of a giggle on that I don't walk on water thing.
Yeah.
Tell our audience first, again, I described you as being different from other leaders, and that difference being, again, a behavior that you display, which is you think about things, you reflect on things. And I think you even mentioned in one of your other podcast interviews that one of the reasons you do this is a way for you to talk to your employees, the people that work for you, and obviously others that read them or hear about them or hear, well, you wouldn't believe the first thing Steve said in the last podcast or whatever it may be. But am I generally in the right area when I describe you that way and talk about what these postings are all about for you?
Yeah. Well, some say there's no real way to describe me, Dennis, but that's fair. That's fair. I guess, if you're going to put me on a spot, I think the way I'm different, we're different, is the lost art of conversation and people. We're a people first company, whether that be internally or externally. We know that the true value of a company is in the relationships that we build. And it may sound corny to you, but it's real. People want to do business with people that they like, people that they know, people that they trust, people who know to get the job done. So we don't focus on contracts and spreadsheets. We focus on building long-term relationships. And when you bring that inside the company, being a people first company, your customers, and I've wrote about this before, but your customers can tell if you're a good company just by looking at the faces of your employees. If your employees seem happy and outgoing and engaged, you know that they feel like they're being treated right. And, you see them. You see people out there that just look like they're miserable to be working somewhere. And it shows up in the nonverbal cues that they deal in any relationship transaction. And you experienced before is going to a retail store or a hotel or whatever. And, there's a difference between people that are happy and the people that are unhappy, You don't want to do business with unhappy employees. You want to do business with happy employees. We figured that out a long time ago. My grandfather always said, we're in the business of making friends. And it's true. We're in the business of making friends because that's how the world works. Kids nowadays, and my kids included, they'd rather text or email. They don't want to go face to face or have, God forbid, a human conversation with a person. So there's a lot of anxiety in that communication transaction between sender and receiver because there's just a discomfort in talking to another human being and engaging in conversation. So we've been, since our ancestry, we're sitting around a campfire and sharing a gazelle or whatever you want to say it. Just we're come from a long lineage of storytellers, and that's how we learn to communicate. And over the years, you just see that diminishing and diminishing and diminishing, where everyone hides behind the computer, everyone hides behind the iPhone, and it's just this becoming a lost art. I'm getting off into a tangent here, but no,
actually, you're not.
There's a lot I can say.
Yeah, there's a thread running through everything you're saying, and I'm just sitting here. I hope you didn't maybe notice I was nodding my head in two different ways. One, you may have read my book. We agree in a really basic but important and fundamental way about what really matters in being successful, and what really matters is as you said, building relationships. I've said as recently as when I wrote the book, one of the thoughts that came to mind and found its way into the third section of the book, actually two different thoughts. One is that you can't build relationships online. And I would say that you would jump up and say, yes, absolutely, that's correct.
Did you get that from me, or did I get that from you? I don't know, but we'll figure that out later. Ask Pat. Let Pat can adjudicate this. But the other thing is, just quite simply, I also talk about the fact that doing the job, having the expertise to apply coatings, or the expertise to install windows, or whatever it may be in our industry, the industry that serves the building environment, that being able to do the job is absolutely essential. We hire people, we evaluate them, we train them, we develop them to do the job, and that's kind of that's the given. But what's most important, and again, you use this. I've heard you use the term. It's recently at that podcast that I viewed. You use the term soft skills. And I talk about soft skills. I describe them in a certain way, not much at variance. Again, as a practical matter, what they mean to me and what they mean to others are all kind of in the same universe. And because it all really ultimately all boils down to these are the skills that make a difference. These are the skills that take your ability to perform and make you somebody that can not only perform but continue to grow and develop and excel at what you do, whatever that is. So we are absolutely in the same camp on all this, and that struck me. Well, it strikes me when I read your postings, but it really struck me when I heard you having this conversation on a live then recorded podcast. So I didn't know all the reasons I wanted to talk to you, but then it became pretty obvious. Hard skills are easy to teach. Finance, math, accounting, computer programming. The hard skills are easy to teach. It's dealing with people that is an art. And you gotta love the interaction of dealing with other people, and it's the soft skills are becoming a lost art.
Not as long as I'm alive.
Yeah.
I talk about them every day, all the time, and whatever setting I'm in, whether it's a speech, a workshop, a seminar, whatever, because I think while the construction industry seems to be, what's the right word? They seem to be, waking up to a reality that they're confronting by virtue of the fact that we are in an increasingly diverse workforce, a multi-generational workforce, and that those two attributes alone, along with the concerted efforts to try to attract more women into the trades, there's a lot of things that are changing. But one thing that's common to all of those needs and those interests is the fact that we need to do a better job of understanding ourselves and other people. And the only way you can do that is if you learn how to be a communicative person, so that you can let people know who you are through your words and your actions, but also learn more about them through the things they say to you. And I know, again, that we are in the same camp on all of that, but your comments or additional thoughts, please.
Well, what I've said to my own daughter, I have 3 daughters, and, throughout their day, their week, or whatever, and they come across someone that they had some problem with, I don't like this person because of this or that or the other. And they're like, you know what? Everybody's going through something, and everyone has a story to tell. Just listen to them, and ask them how their day was, engage it. People love to talk about themselves. So, just there's a lock and key effect, so to speak, when you're communicating with a person that you don't think that you liked. All of a sudden you realize that you really do like them, because ultimately we have more in common than we don't have in common. So just engage and ask questions, and you'd be surprised how those people open up, and all of a sudden someone that was angry towards you now open up towards you and are telling you their life stories. When you started with the intro of practicing love. That's what it would be, basically. Just love for your fellow mankind.
All right. Well, since you brought it up, let's talk a little bit about what is the relevance, the importance, or the significance of saying something like you need to love the people that are your customers. You need to love the people that work for you. What is that? How do you operationalize that?
Well, there's 2 paths I can go down here, but to answer your question, I don't have anything prepared for you, but speaking off the cuff, starting out with a basis of love in a business transaction, in a commercial transaction would be, I respect you as a customer. I respect what your needs are, what your wants are. How can I help you? When we're in a industry of service, and how can we service you and solve your whatever problem that you have to where we're both happy. So I think that's the best way I can answer your question. Versus making a business transaction, make it a human transaction, mm-hmm. and helping one another out.
Mm-hmm. So you don't resist the notion of the fact that love, which is an emotion, has a role in how you go about doing what you do to serve the people you serve.
Not at all. Not at all. Whether or not be love in the classic sense of love, or just loving what you do. And loving, and I love what I do because I'm a people person. Yeah. Every day you wake up is a new day with a new opportunity, and there's just the phone rings, get an email from some new client with a new opportunity, and that's the thrill of the game for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, you've successfully, without realizing it, taken a phrase from a leadership author who's my mentor, actually, and his part of his message. His first book on leadership was written 20 years ago. It was called The Radical Leap, and LEAP is an acronym that stands for 4 words, which are his framework of leadership, which is love, energy, audacity, and proof. And he talks through telling stories about what all 4 of those words mean, and what the interplay is and what it produces. And in that first book, and to this day, it's a thought that's in my mind almost every day, if not every day, and that is this. And you said one of these phrases just a moment ago: do what you love in the service of people who love what you do. Any argument?
No, and again, I didn't steal that from anywhere. I'm just speaking from the heart.
Yeah, I know. That's what. Yeah, and it kind of is a by the way, part of the beauty and the value these conversations is that we didn't prepare answers for questions. Again, we're two people talking, and we have a lot of common thoughts between you and I, and it's pretty remarkable, and it's very pleasing.
Wish I could go down two paths for that question,
Mm-hmm.
and I think you deal mostly with the contracting community. Is that accurate to say?
And the unions, yeah.
And unions and contracting. So what I was gonna communication B, so to speak, was gonna be as it relates to safety in the construction field. If employees would just look out for one another in the field and just out of just pure love of each other, I think that would drive down accidents. Whereas, hey, we're all following the plan of the day and the safety plan, blah blah blah. But nowhere does it say, hey, let's look out for each other. Let's get each other's back. And that's more of a new thing in safety and construction. Human performance, human based safety, or HOPS, or craft based leadership. And just if more of us looked out for one another, it could, quite frankly, drive those statistics down.
Mm-hmm. I absolutely agree with you. And we both know that safety is still a serious problem in our industry. It's as serious, if maybe in some ways more serious than it was in my early days in the industry, which is over 40 years ago. That's how long I've been in some part of the construction industry. So I agree that it's still a concern. And it's a concern that's broadening to include the other associated areas of concern dealing with mental health, addiction, and suicide, and because they're all related, and they all focus on people. And so your idea of just looking out for your crewmate, for your team member, for the people that work for you, is absolutely spot on in terms of what the leader's outlook needs to be. And then the challenge, of course, is to find the ways that you motivate and inspire the people that you lead in order to listen to what you're saying and then act on it. Let me think. Again, this is all these conversations have been different, uniquely different. And mine with you is much more so. Tell the audience about when you first started doing your LinkedIn postings. What was the motivation, and why have you continued to do them on a regular basis? If it's just for your employees, I understand that, but my hunch is there's probably more there. What was your motivation, and what's motivating you to continue to do it?
Oh yeah, no, that's a really good question. Actually, I'm glad you asked it. We live and die by relationships, and as we grow as a company, we've grown substantially as a company over my career. I've been doing this ever since I was a teenager. But you can't talk on the course of a year. You can't touch everybody that you need to touch. And whether and you work for a certain client in Mississippi and you lose touch with them. You work for another client in, say, Michigan, and over time you lose touch with them. But in the relationship business, you got to continually reach out and touch somebody. Say, hey, how you doing? And anything coming up? Is there anything I can help you with? And it's a big country. There's a big economy, and what LinkedIn has done in the algorithms has digitized that touch, where instead of just calling, you don't have enough time or energy to reach everybody that you need to reach to sustain your business. And it's twofold. It's the people that you don't know that you reach out to that could be potential employees, or it could be dozens of customers that you don't think to necessarily call or reach out to or can't connect with them. And all of a sudden they see what you said on LinkedIn. This, oh man, I need to call Steve. I have something I need to talk to him about. So it's kind of automated that process, and it don't mean to take the human element out of it, but it's a big country and there's a lot of people in it, and you can't talk to everybody. So you put yourself out there to the different markets that we work in, whether it be power, automotive, process, government, on and on and on, these different buckets of industries that we deal in. And you just physically can't stay in front of everybody using the old method of calling and sending letters like my grandpa would have done decades ago. It kind of automates that. And when they need you, they call you because you put yourself out there and they've remembered you. So it's twofold. It's attracting talent is one of it, and attracting customers is another.
Mm-hmm. Good. That makes total sense. And I applaud you for doing it. And that's just the fact that you were doing that. That's why I described you as being a bit different. And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Again, when you think about the variety of ways that one business tries to differentiate itself from another as competitors, there are a lot of different ways to try to do it. A chunk of them are the ones that everybody can do. They can talk about the quality. They can talk about safety. They can talk about, best train. They can talk about, multiple all those features. But you're doing something that's a bit different to differentiate yourself as a company in a particular segment of a variety of industries. And again, that's why I liked, and that's why I used it in the opening. Your very plain spoken way of describing what Coatings Unlimited is. Now, in the podcast I listened to, if you can recall, you describe your company differently. Do you remember the words you used to describe what your company does? You mentioned concrete and steel.
Yeah. Concrete and steel from fire, water, and corrosion.
Was that the way you said? Yeah, I thought you used a couple of bigger words that really I said, wow.
Who knows what I said? I don't know.
Well, the recording knows.
Another component to this digital media, social media, in an essence is what it's doing is accelerating the future. It's bringing opportunities closer, faster, versus the old way of reaching out, sending a letter, sending proposals, calling to people. It accelerates all that. It puts it on steroids, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. Do you have metrics that support the utility of this activity for you?
Yeah, on the back end, I'm not good at studying that, but the people that know it for us, they understand, and the traffic kind of handle that. Yeah, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Do you engage a resource to help you manage your social media and manage this whole thing?
Oh yeah. I'm not going to take full credit for it, and it's my heart and soul, but it's the creative minds of people that know the algorithms and what LinkedIn likes to see, what it doesn't like to see. So I get help.
Yeah. Good. Well, that's important. And again, just as another compliment to you for taking a very sensible, wise, and future-looking approach to how you let people know that you're out there to serve them, which I think is terrific.
Thank you.
So, if I were to ask, let's try this question. If you had to think about it for just a moment or two, and try to identify the 3 or 4 qualities, also known as, again, I describe soft skills as not being skills, but being a person's qualities, attributes, behaviors, a manifestation of their personal values. That's what a soft skill is. communication as a skill, listening as a skill. And I differentiate them by saying that those things can be taught. You can teach people how to be better communicators, whether it's writing or oral or otherwise. You can teach people how to be better listeners. But the whole notion of understanding and developing for yourself an understanding of your qualities by looking inward, which is self-awareness, a component of emotional intelligence, and also being able to do that and looking at others is really what separates people that are doing okay, particularly people that are progressing into significant leadership roles, and people who are very successful. So if I were to ask you what the 3 or 4 qualities you thought were the most important to you and how you go about doing what you do on a day-to-day basis in your business, what would those qualities be?
Let me lead with a quote. I saw something the other day, and forgive me, I don't know the author. I read a lot. I don't always remember where I read it at, but, something like effort trumps talent. And, what that means to me is, if you have the energy, the ambition, and the drive, you're going to go farther in life than a person that's just really good at, whether it be put a sports analogy in place here. Someone's really good at soccer, he got good skills, but if someone wants to try harder, they're going to go farther and succeed more than a person with just the skills. So, it doesn't just take smarts. It takes ambition and initiative and drive to really make things happen in this world. Now, look at the people that founded this country and just the awesome success stories of just raw ambition and taking advantage of the opportunities at the time to build the economy that we all enjoy today. That would be energy and ambition and drive would get anybody much farther in their career than any kind of report card from the university.
Yeah, I would agree with all that. And I think that also just that underscores again the conversations that are going on around trying to tell the story of the construction industry as we see it now and into the future, to try to attract individuals who are being sent down one path, and it's called college, versus potentially being sent down another path, which is called the tools, the trades, construction. So again, I'm going to circle back to my question. The 3 or 4 qualities that are really important to you.
To me, it would be having an extroverted personality would really pay dividends. Now, you can't necessarily teach that, but just from your DNA standpoint, just being outgoing, it would really get you far in life and in your career. Another one would be, putting people first. That's not necessarily put people ahead of your own interests, but just understanding that we're all in this together, and rising tide lifts all boats. Another one would be to help one another. Whether or not be a fellow employee or a direct report or a customer. We're all here to help one another get through this game of life. And that help may be in some form of any kind of constructive dialogue or anything that would help them in the course of their career, and what can help them. I'm getting off to a tangent. Another one would be, and this is I guess this is corny, but it's just your health. If we can maintain our health and put our health first, we can help others. And there's just a lot of people that don't take care of themselves, that get into the gutter of life. And if they can just maintain their mental acuity and their healthy body, they can be more productive in society and help people more.
Interesting. Yeah, I too read a lot, and it just reminds me, I'm looking over at my notes here. I read an article online that the title of the article was Human Traits to Develop to Keep AI from Replacing Us, Artificial Intelligence. And the 4 traits, which fall directly in when I talk about soft skills, actually 3 of these 4 were on my top 20 list of soft skills in my book. The first is humility as a quality.
That's a really good one. Yes.
The second is curiosity.
Okay.
The third is self-awareness. And the 4th is empathy.
Yeah, you beat me in your 4. I like your 4 much better.
I mean, they're not mine, but actually 3 of them did fall into my top 20. And it makes a great deal of sense to me, this whole idea of what makes us human. You continually talk about we're in a people business. It's about building relationships. Relationships bring success. And I agree with all of that, absolutely. And some of the ingredients for great leaders to be able to be successful and maybe also happier, these 4 words, among others, all fit in there. I've often said that the reason to understand others as well as yourself is that decisions that are made by you throughout your day, particularly as the president, and as you refer to yourself also as the benevolent dictator of your company, that the decisions you make, it's not just about the facts, because every decision you make affects you and affects others. And that's certainly true for any leader. Your thoughts?
Yeah. So to go back in time in our conversation about how we got started on LinkedIn, I was first reluctant to do it. I am a humble person, and I didn't want to come across in the media as, a know-it-all, have all the answers. But my real goal is to utilize my life experiences to help other people. Mm-hmm. And I'm hoping that none of them come across with that tone of, I have all the answers. I absolutely don't. I'm looking for all the answers. But, I do view myself as being very humble, because in the contracting world, it's really hard to get too big of a head, because contractors face a lot of headwinds and a lot of problems. And, staying humble will keep your sanity.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, ending on humility is a good way for to end this very rapid conversation that I could probably find a way to continue for another half hour, an hour, just to kind of keep picking your brain and your heart. Because again, you do come across with a very humble approach. You're very plain spoken, and that's a very positive thing for someone leading a successful business. Because again, one of the things that's important, I'm sure it's an ingredient in the multiple generations that have run your company, is that you have a lot of long-term relationships. And the glue of a long-term relationship is trust. And that's why, trustworthy is at the top of the list of qualities that are important for individuals. Yes. And I think you've got that in spades. And again, your humility is certainly expressed in your statement that says that you don't walk on water. You just know where the rocks are. Steve, it's been a special
I'm honored.
Delight to talk to you. I look forward to meeting you in person, which I'm sure I will somehow, somewhere.
It's hard when you're in our hometown. I apologize.
Well, it's all right. That's okay. I'll be back there, I'm sure, at some point in time. But thank you so much for your time, and let's stay in touch.
I'm honored you thought of me. Thank you, Dennis.
You're welcome, Steve. Take care.
Thanks for joining us today for this episode of the Soft as Steel podcast with your host, Dennis Duran. Dennis is the author of Soft as Steel and a leading speaker and trainer for organizations across many industries and verticals. To learn more about the work Dennis is doing to activate soft skills in the workplace, contact him at DennisDuranSpeaking.com. Be sure to check out his book, Soft as Steel, on Amazon or wherever books are sold. You can subscribe to this podcast on iTunes or wherever you'd like to get your podcasts. And please remember to share this episode with your friends, colleagues, and anyone you feel would benefit from the conversation. We'll see you next time on the Soft as Steel podcast with Dennis Duran.